Hello and welcome to Spooky Sweets online with the Kingsport Public Library. My name is Kendra Jones and I work down in the Youth Services Department. And today we are going to make Rice Krispie Treat brains. So you only need a very few simple ingredients for this. You're welcome to get great value Rice Krispies or Rice Crisp, a bag of marshmallows. I like using the jumbo marshmallows because I think they mix better and you don't have to mix it as long. So one 10-ounce bag of these. Go ahead and pre-cut a stick of butter to 1/4 a cup, and our handy dandy friend, the vanilla. And basically that's all the things you need minus the red food coloring gel, but we'll get to that when it's time to decorate. So let's head over to the stove and get to mixing. Alright, here comes the fun part. Now be sure that you have an adult do this or an adult with you because you need your stove on to be good and hot. We're going to add in our butter. And then we're going to add the marshmallows and mix it all together. I might have mine a little too hot. And you don't have to stir it the whole time, but I recommend stirring it pretty often so you don't burn the butter or the marshmallows. Just going to get all those in there at once. And if they get stuck in the bag like mine are, just cut your bag open. There we go. Now, let's get all this combined. Just keep stirring it till it gets a nice gooey mess. And it also smells heavenly. Well, what it is about butter, but it just smells so good. So these are melting really good. So I'm going to let them get just a little bit meltier so that we don't see the form of the marshmallow and it's just more of marshmallow goo inside your pan. Which I went ahead and let my stove eye warm up before I did this. So we didn't have to wait on it to do that, but you're more than welcome just to do it very slow and take your time. Because the last thing we want is a burn, and that is the pits. Alright, it's almost all combined. Now we're going to be making brains today, but you can make anything out of these Rice Krispie treats. You can make pumpkins with a cookie cutter. You can put them in a big square and make a jack-o'-lantern. It is pretty much whatever your imagination can think of, you can do with Rice Krispie treats. And the good thing is the leftovers that we don't turn into brains, just put them in a casserole dish, but make sure you spray it with Pam, because otherwise you'll never get them out and then that's just a pain. Alright. It looks like all our marshmallows are pretty melted. So if you want to follow the instructions on the back of your box, you can. Mine calls for 4 cups of Rice Krispies. But before that, we're going to add some vanilla. Just a teaspoon. And I'm going to stir that in there. Get it incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off the heat because if I don't, it's just going to continue cooking and it'll slowly start to burn and we don't want that. So I don't usually dump all these in at once. I do a little bit at a time. Get it mixed and then add some more. But now if you want to, just dump the whole thing in at once. It might be a little bit harder to stir if you do that, but they are your Rice Krispie treats. You'll notice they'll stick. That's okay, just knock them off. Now the recipe I'm following calls for 6 cups of Rice Krispie treats. But if you feel like that's too much or it's not enough, you can just add to it just a little bit at a time. I wouldn't add cups and cups at a time. I would just add a few because they are coming together really good now. See how they're getting sticky. I don't know that I want to add 6 cups, but I'm going to go ahead and add just a few more. And if it gets too hard to stir, just ask someone to take over. Kind of like when you're making fudge. You think your hand is going to fall off because all you're doing is stirring. These can resemble that too. Oh, look at all that sticky gooiness. That's the best. Now we're not going to let these cool completely down because we want to be able to mold them. But we can't touch them right now because they're super hot. So you're going to want to let them cool off just enough to where you can hold them in your hand and it doesn't burn you. So I would have an adult test that out for you, because we want to mold these. So let's just put the rest. I only went with 4 cups on mine and I think it's going to be perfect. I'm afraid 6 cups would have been too many Rice Krispies. So I'm going to let these cool off just a little bit. I went straight to my finger. It probably won't even take 5 minutes for these to cool off because I've got them off the heat and they've already started reaching that consistency. So I'm going to cool about 5 minutes and then we're going to come back and make our Rice Krispie brains. So I'll see you in just a few. Alright, our Rice Krispies has cooled just enough for us to mold, but I recommend you get a bowl of water. I'm just using a measuring cup because if the Rice Krispies stick to you, oh yeah, they're good. Then, like they're sticky now, it's going to be hard to mold it into anything. Mine are so sticky. It's going to be a really funny looking brain, isn't it? So if they get too sticky, put your hands in the water and it all comes off. And sometimes I'll put my hands in the water before I mold them because that way it makes them a little bit easier to shape. And maybe that's just the fun part of Rice Krispies. It's getting to be messy with your hands, right? So I'm going to put them on my plate first. And then I'm going to get my hands clean. Now you can always go to the sink and wash your hands off, but if you're like me, you're just lazy and don't want to do that. And also water like that, if they're still a little hot, it will help you mold them better. So I'm just going to mold them right onto my plate so that I don't have to pick them up again. So you're just going to kind of make a circle shape. And you can be artistic with it and kind of move it around like a brain. One thing you can do is put your butter knife right down the middle and make a little like separation ridge. Oh yeah. I'm going to make mine a little more round. And you just have fun with it. You mold it any way you like. It is totally up to you. Let me wipe my hands off because they're a little wet and sticky. Alright. Looking like a pretty good brain, but it needs some veins. So, I'm going to go right down the middle. And then I'm going to go down the sides. And I'm going to even go all the way down the side just because I want it to be fun looking. And we're going to go down the other side. All the way down to the bottom. And if your icing is a little gooey, it just makes it look more like a brain to me. And you have made your own Rice Krispie brain. Now it's time to enjoy your treat.